All right, so we're going to continue on with the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and we're on M's visit to Dakshineshwar, number one. And guess we're on, in my book, 550, but I don't think that makes any sense to anybody else's book. We're on the paragraph that begins, I recognized you on hearing you read the Chaitanya Bhagavat.
Yeah, it's 359.
359. Okay.
In
there
the
it is. And he was just talking about the devotees earlier, and he was saying that he's going to have to come back again pretty soon, and so he's not going to tell them everything. He says, because if I tell you everything, the next time I come back, you're not going to come because you'll already know everything. He actually says that. He says, I'm at peace now. I shall have to be born once more. Therefore, I am not giving all knowledge to my companions, with a smile. Suppose I give you all knowledge. Will you then come to me again willingly? Kind of a funny way of thinking about it. I like the way that he can joke about something so profound, about the fact that he knows he's going to be coming again. He says it several times throughout his life. And it's not unusual, these incarnations, all mentioning, at some point that they'll be back again, it'll be another time. So he's talking about his companions here, the devotees. He says, I recognize you. I recognized you on hearing you read the Chaitanya Bhagavat. You are my own, the same substance, like father and son. All of you are coming here again. When you pull one part of the Kalmi creeper, all the branches come toward you. You are all relatives, like brothers. Suppose Rakal, Harish, and the others had gone to Puri, and you were there too. Would you live separately? Before you came here, you didn't know who you were. Now you will know. It is God who, as the Guru, makes one know. Right? So it's God that gives us permission to learn. That's another promise there that you can hold on to stay aware of when you're doubting the presence or feeling that dryness. He says it is God, the Guru, who makes one know. So the fact that you know anything, the fact that you can practice, that you know what to do when you practice. Mother has allowed that, has given that to you as a gift, because of love. Nangta told the story of the tigress and the herd of goats. Once a tigress attacked a herd of goats. A hunter saw her from a distance and killed her. The tigress was pregnant and gave birth to a cub as she lay expired. The cub began to grow in the company of the goats. At first, it was nursed by the she-goats, and later on, as it grew bigger, it began to eat grass and bleat like the rest of the goats. Gradually, the cub became a big tiger, but still it ate grass and bleated. When attacked by other animals, it would run away like the goats. One day, a fierce-looking tiger attacked the herd. It was amazed to see a tiger in the herd, eating grass and running away with the goats as it approached. It left the goats and it caught hold of the grass-eating tiger, which began to bleat and tried to run away. But the fierce tiger dragged it to the water and said, "Look at your face in the water. You see? You've got the same pot face of a tiger. It's exactly like mine." Next, it pressed a piece of meat into its mouth. At first, the grass-eating tiger refused to eat the meat. Then it got the taste of the meat and relished it. At last, the fierce tiger said to the grass eater, "What a disgrace! You lived with the goats and ate grass like them." And the other was really ashamed of itself. Eating grass is like enjoying woman and gold, enjoying lust and greed. To bleat and run away like a goat is to behave like an ordinary man. Going away with the new tiger is like taking shelter with the Guru, who awakens one's spiritual consciousness and recognizing him alone as one's relative. To see one's face rightly is to know one's real self. Indeed. So this whole notion of who we are, especially in these days of identity politics, we attach these very strong identities of ourself, and it can be any number of things, whether it's based on our sexuality or our gender or our nationality or our political leanings or thoughts. And, we've kind of almost approached the point where the identity is the explanation. We don't even question it anymore beyond that. And we'll fight with each other just because of the identity, not even because we know that we disagree. And so we should understand we're like tigers bleating, eating grass. We've gotten very confused. We are not a man or a woman. We are not Americans or Indians. We are not genders. We are not sexualities. We're ever free, ever pure, ever blissful. And the only thing that we know of ourselves is that we are love incarnated, that we are wisdom incarnated, and that this incarnation is a manifestation of a potential, of an existence that even itself does not need a manifestation. And so he's saying, take shelter in the guru, with God, with the divine, because we'll learn this. He'll show us personally, take us and drag us to the river and show us our reflection. Look, you are divine. You are the divine inside. You and I are the same. We're made of the same stuff. You are mine and I am yours. And to resist, to really try, and that's part of the work of doing inner discernment, is separating ourselves from our identities, separating ourselves from our masks, our personas, our behaviors, our conventional social structures, all of that, to let go of it. Sri Ramakrishna stood up. There was silence all around, disturbed only by the gentle rustling of the pine needles and the murmuring of the Ganges. The master went to the Panchavati and then to his room, talking all the while with M. The disciple followed him, fascinated. At the Panchavati, Sri Ramakrishna touched with his forehead the raised platform around the banyan tree. This was the place of his intense spiritual discipline, where he had wept bitterly for the vision of the Divine Mother, where he had held intimate communion with her, and where he had seen many divine forms. The master and M passed the cluster of bakul trees and came to the Nahabat. Hazra was there. The master said to him, "Don't eat too much and give up this craze of outer cleanliness. People with a craze do not attain knowledge. Follow conventions only as much as necessary. Don't go to excess." The master entered his room and sat on the couch. This is a very a very good point. Thakur, just like Buddha, is teaching us here, stay in the middle path. Don't get too uptight about any one particular thing, And here he's talking about outer purity. A lot of people, oh no, I can't touch that. That will make me impure. Oh no, I can't. And they get very adamant about that. I sat across from a woman on a train in India for 20 hours from Calcutta to Dehradun. And she was a very, very wealthy woman, very nice luggage, a very handsome young boy as her son. And she was in a beautiful sari that was just huge. I mean, it was a big, very voluminous sari. And she was sitting there, and for 20 hours, we were in a very cramped little 6-seat, two couches facing each other where our knees almost were touching. For 20 hours, nothing of hers touched anything of mine. She kept that sari tightly wrapped around her legs and tucked under, and kept her luggage over on her side. Her son, I offered him a piece of chocolate, and when he went to reach for it, she slapped him. I felt horrible, but that's what happens when we get too focused on these fastidious external things. We start getting what I call a spiritual hernia, where you're overly emphasizing something that really isn't that important. And, you've got an injury, something's making you see it out of proportion. Vegetarians can be like this. Where we just get too concerned about our externals and not concerned enough about the principles of love and wisdom and being. And to always remember that and always come back to that again. Master entered the room and sat on the couch. Sri Ramakrishna was resting after his midday meal with Surendra, Ram, and the other devotees when they arrived from Calcutta. It was about 1 o'clock. While M was strolling alone under the pine trees, Harish came there and told him that the master wanted him in his room. Someone was going to read from the Shiva Samhita, a book containing instructions about yoga and the 6 centers. M entered the room and saluted the master. The devotees were seated on the floor, but no one was reading the book. Sri Ramakrishna was talking to the devotees. The master, the gopis cherished ecstatic love for Krishna. There are 2 elements in such a love: I-ness and my-ness. I-ness is the feeling that Krishna will be ill if I do not serve him. In this attitude, the devotee does not look upon his ideal as God. My-ness is to feel that the beloved is my own. The gopis had such a feeling of my-ness toward Krishna that they would place their subtle bodies under his feet lest his soul should get hurt. Yashoda remarked, "I don't understand your Chintamani Krishna. To me, he is simply Gopala." The gopis said, "Oh, where is Krishna, our beloved? Where is Krishna, our sweetheart?" They were not conscious of his being God. It is like a small child saying, "My daddy." If someone says to the child, "No, he's not your daddy," the child says, "Yes, he is my daddy." God, incarnating himself as a man, behaves exactly like a man. That is why it is difficult to recognize an incarnation. When God becomes man, he is exactly like man. He has the same hunger, the same thirst, the same disease, the same grief, and sometimes even the same fear. Rama was stricken with grief for Sita. Krishna carried on his head the shoes and wooden stool of his father Nanda. In the theater, when an actor comes on the stage in the role of a holy man, he behaves like one, and not like the actor who is playing the part of the king. He plays his own role. Once an impersonator dressed himself as a world-renouncing monk. Pleased with the correctness of his disguise, some rich people offered him a rupee. He did not accept the money, but went away shaking his head. Afterward, he removed his disguise and appeared in his usual dress. Then he said to the rich people, "Please give me that rupee." They replied, "Why? You went away, refusing our present. Why do you ask for it now?" The man said, "But then I was in the role of a holy man. I could not accept money." Likewise, when God becomes man, he behaves exactly like a man. So that integrity, while he was playing that role, he couldn't take that money because it would be out of integrity. So he goes and gets rid of his costume and then comes back to get the money again, you know. At Vrindavan, one sees many places associated with Krishna's life. Surendra. We were there during the holidays. Visitors were continually pestered for money. The priests and the others asked for it continually. We told them that we were going to leave for Calcutta the next day, but we fled from Vrindavan that very night. Master, what is that? Shame. You said you would leave the place the next day and you ran away that very day? What a shame. Surendra, embarrassed. Here and there we saw the Babajis in the woods practicing spiritual discipline in solitude. Master, did you give them anything? Surendra, no, sir. The master, that is not proper of you. One should give to monks and devotees. Those who have the means should help such persons when they meet them. I went to Vrindavan with Mathur Babu. The moment I came to the Dhruva Ghat at Mathura, in a flash I saw Vasudeva crossing the Jamuna with Krishna in his arms. One evening I was taking a stroll on the beach of the river. There were small thatched huts on the beach and big plum trees. It was the cow dust hour. The cows were returning from the pasture, raising the dust with their hooves. I saw them fording the river. Then came some cowherd boys crossing the river with their cows. No sooner did I behold this seen. Then I cried out, "Oh Krishna, where are you?" and became unconscious. I wanted to visit Shyamakunda and Radhakunda, so Mathur Babu sent me there in a palanquin. We had a long way to go. Food was put in the palanquin. While going over the meadow, I was overpowered with emotion and wept. "Oh Krishna, I find everything the same. Only you are not here. This is the very meadow where you tended the cows." Hriday followed me on foot. I was bathed in tears. I couldn't ask the bearers to stop the palanquin. It's amazing. Because Thakur makes that statement that he who was Krishna and he who was Rama is now this Ramakrishna before you. So he's taking his pilgrimage to Vrindavan, but for him it's a homecoming. He played there as Krishna. He was Krishna to the gopis, and he's seeing everything exactly like it was. Only Krishna is not there, he's not there. It's now different, that all that love of that play is just now a memory, just now imprinted in the hearts of the people that live there and many others actually. At Syamakunda and Radhakunda, I saw the holy men living in small mud huts, facing away from the road unless their eyes would fall on men. They were engaged in spiritual discipline. One should visit the 12th grove. I went into samadhi at the sight of the image of Banku Vihari. In that state, I wanted to touch it. I did not want to go visit Govindaji twice. At Mathura, I dreamt of Krishna as the cowherd boy. Hriday and Mathur Babu had the same dream. To Surendra, you have both yoga and bhoga. There are different classes of sages, the Brahmarshi, the Devarshi, and the Rajarshi. Sukadeva is an example of the Brahmarshi. He didn't keep even one book with him. An example of the Devarshi is Narada. Janaka was a Rajarshi, devoted to selfless work. The devotee of the Divine Mother attains dharma and moksha. He enjoys artha and kama as well. Once I saw you in a vision as the child of the Divine Mother. You have both, yoga and bhoga. Otherwise, your countenance would look dry. The man who renounces all looks dry. Once I saw a devotee of the Divine Mother at the bathing ghat on the Ganges. He was eating his meal and at the same time worshipping the Mother. He looked on himself as the Mother's child. But it isn't good to have much money. I find that Jadu Malik is drowned in worldliness. It is because he has too much money. Naban Nayogi too has both yoga and bhoga. I saw him and his son waving the fan before the image of the Divine Mother at the same time of the time of the Durga Puja. This idea of having too much money, it's a big caution. It's funny because I was just having this conversation with an older friend of mine the other day, and he's come into some money, and he was sharing with me what a struggle it was that when you have a lot of money, you begin to think differently. Even though you don't want to, even though you're still the same person. He says there's just a sense of entitlement or a sense of betterment when you have control of large amounts of money like that. And I thought back to my own days, back in the 90s when I was working. And, as a single, wasn't a rich guy, but as a single guy, I had a lot of money. And so I remember those days. I remember feeling that way. I remember being quite haughty. And, I had my own personal, I had my own personal color consultant at Nordstrom's, and I would call her up. I'd be like, her name was Corky. I'd call her and be like, "Hey Corky, I've got a dinner party tonight. Can you pick something out for me? I'll come by after work." And I can remember going there over work. And when I got there after work, there was a tailor there. Corky was there, and then she had an assistant. And I went in, and she had 3 outfits hanging around the mirror in this dressing room. Right. And I had to put those on. And if I I didn't like the sweater, and she said, "What don't you like?" I said, "Well, I don't really want a V. I'd kind of like a regular sweater, or crew neck." And so she said something to her assistant. He went out, ran around, got another sweater, brought it in. Anyway, we had the outfit, and I changed back into my street clothes. And she says, "We'll just shop for a few minutes. We'll call you over the sound system to come and pick up your stuff after the tailor gets finished with them." And I was like, okay. And I drank that in. I thought I deserved that. I thought that was, that I just had that nose in the air. It was a real lockdown for my inner person, I have to say. There's a reason they call it bondage. Or these things, whether it's money or enjoyments or fame or wealth or any of these things, they're bondage. They tie you up. You can't be who you want to be. You can't be who you long to be. You'll look through a weird lens and try and be those things, but that lens prevents you from really hitting the mark. And so when Thakur is saying this, it's quite true. if you needed that verification, that Thakur, that when we have these blessings, that the world would call blessings, that they can really inhibit us. And so use what you have, whatever gifts they are. If you're a great singer, or if you're a great dancer, or if you're a great, money maker, I don't know, whatever you do, figure out what blessings you've been given, but give them to the Lord, give them to the God in everyone, worship God in everyone using them. So if you're wealthy, you should be liberal with that. It's your responsibility to take care of your culture, your society. One of the lessons we're going to have at the retreat this year is specific teachings for the householders. What is the householder path, and how to best live it, to grow the most through it. And that's one of the major responsibilities of the householder is just this. Oh boy, I got two messages there at the same time. As householders, to earn as much money as you can. Thakur says you're welcome to make as much as you want, and it's fine to always take the opportunity to make more. But he says, make sure that once your own needs and the needs of your family and the needs of your the monks and the nuns and the temples and the holy people around you, once all that's taken care of, raise your eyes up to and extend your horizon. Take responsibility for the poor, take responsibility for the needy, and give liberally, give freely, like that. And that's to all of us, because it's not really having anything to do with the amount of money that you have, but the amount of what do they call that? Money that's not tied to a particular thing, that you can give, that you can hand out. It's a great exercise, and it's a wonderful way. When I was in the monastery in Hollywood, this is just a goofy thing I did, really, for my own development more than anything. But I would take $5 on a walk, and I would pray before I went. I've got $5 here, Ma, that I don't need. And so we'll go for a walk. I said, please show me someone that could use it. Please show me a wise place to give it, right? And part of the reason I kept doing that was, who needs $5? That's nothing. But for me, it changed the way I walked, because I would walk with eyes looking for service, looking for a way to give, a way to help, and it kept it on my mind. It kept it there on the forefront, and I saw the world very differently for that time. If I had just gone on a walk, I would have just been distracted by any old thing, thinking any old thing, doing any old thing. But when you go out to, take something with you and make your time out a spiritual quest, If you don't have any money to give, you don't want to give anything like that, just go out and say, Ma, please teach me by something that I see or something that I overhear while I'm walking today. you know so you go out for your walk, and what do? You start paying attention, you start listening, you start hearing tidbits of conversations, and those tidbits of conversation will take on meaning for you. Even, if you hadn't made that prayer, you would have heard them and just let it go, just kept going about your business. But you see, if you set your ideals, you set your practices in front of you specifically. Oh, I'm going for a walk. Oh, I'm driving to work. Help me see something as I drive to work. Help me learn something about you on my drive to work. Whatever it is, help yourself keep your eyes opened and your ears open, your alertness, your awareness of what you are and who you are and what your work is in this world. Set up these little make-believe scenarios that will help you to keep your mind in those places. And it's always been my experience, I assume it'll be yours too, you do hear things and learn. You do see things and learn from them. You do find somebody who needs $5. That's what this life is. This life really is you interacting with God. There's no one else out there, right? It's you interacting with God. And so make your day the beautiful day you want it to be by interacting with your beloved everywhere, in any way that you're inspired to, that you go. Don't let these things poison us. Don't let your money isolate you. Don't let your social standing isolate you. Don't let your career isolate you. Don't let these things put boundaries in your life that separate you from everyone else. It's one of the things that I learned, when I was in college and would go travel. I would stay at these backpacker lodges, and at dinner, we would all cook in these community kitchens, and we'd all be out there making our meals, and we'd start sharing the food, and then we'd get in conversations about what we'd done that day and what we were going to do the next day. And we would all, hook up to go different places with each other. When we heard somebody was going to go rafting, oh, I want to go rafting. Oh, come along, it'll be great. Like that. And then when I started making money, when I got out of college and I traveled, I'd stay in a hotel and I'd meet nobody. And I'd go sit alone in a restaurant and eat my meal. It was all isolated. I allowed my money to isolate me, to separate me. And that began to change me, because money allows you to do that. And you begin to then look at everyone else out there from a different perspective, thinking that you deserve the luxury you're getting, the money that you're getting. I work for this. What are you talking about? As if you take on those kinds of things, and it cripples us. It breaks our own heart. Other people can just look at you and be annoyed or be like, oh, look at that one. But for yourself, it's pain. That's why Thakur doesn't want you to do it, because it's pain to be selfish, to be haughty, to be proud, to be isolated. We want to push against that. We want to be united. We want to be connecting with the beloved. We want to be open for service. We want to be approachable. We want to be free of judgment toward others. We want people always to feel comfortable to come and talk, feel like they could come and talk to us, or ask a question or get help from us. The man who renounces everything looks dry. Once I saw a devotee of the Divine Mother in the bathing ghat on the Ganges. He was eating his meal and at the same time worshiping the Mother. He looked on himself as the Mother's child. But it isn't good to have much money. I find that Jadu Malik is drowned in worldliness. It is because he has too much money. Naban Nayogi, too, has both yoga and boga. I saw him and his son waving the fan before the image of the Divine Mother at the time of the Durga Puja. Surendra, sir, why can't I meditate? Master, you remember God and think of him, don't you? Surendra, yes, sir. I go to sleep repeating the word Mother. Master, that's very good. It will be enough if you remember God and think of him. Sri Ramakrishna had taken Surendra's responsibilities on himself. Why should Surendra worry about anything? This is part of the advantage of being a bhakta, following that path, because mother's got it managed for us. You know, we really can relax into mother. Uh, you know, and our first thought always is, oh gosh, if I relax into mother, I won't do anything. You know, I've got to stay on my toes. That's not a true thing. You're a much more beautiful person than that. That you haven't quite learned that about yourself yet. That if you relax into it, yes, there may be a few days there where you take advantage of it, where, you know, you're kind of lax and sort of take license, but eventually your nature will kick in. You know, your nature of who you are will respond with gratitude toward mother having taken care of you, having done it all for you. And eventually you learn how to use that confidence of knowing that mother has done everything for you to accept some of the gifts that she wants to give you. You know, a bliss, a joy of life, a kindness, a sense of peace, a sense of oneness, you know, a stillness, all the different things that she wants to give you that normally in the world we can't have anything because we have to earn it. Right. And this is the idea of karma. But with spiritual life, that's not the case. Spiritual life, you can't earn it. You know, realization is the only effect with no cause, which means there's nothing that you can do to have it be caused. And so mother's called you, and she'll come get you at the time when it's right. For you now, just open to her. Just enjoy the promise. Enjoy the freedom of grace. Enjoy the love, right? And keep remembering her. Keep thinking of your divine ideal through the day, and give it an opportunity to connect with the people you meet, with the people you're sitting next to, you know, on the bus. That's another thing. If you get rid of your car and start taking the bus, you'll meet a lot more people. Not just meet people, but you'll know really what's going on in your community, in your neighborhood, right? It'll give you a real sense of belonging. If you know, most of us rich Americans, we take our car everywhere. We don't meet anybody we don't know. You know, that's why that's why we can say such weird things about each other and people believe it, because nobody knows drag queens. Nobody knows, you know, the homeless guy on the corner. Nobody's ever sat down and talked with the homeless woman with the umbrella, you know, and so we don't have that empathy. We don't have that compassion because we haven't practiced it. We haven't gotten out there and used it to touch to the people, to be available to the people that mother has given us to take care of, to love, to nurture, to encourage, you know, to practice, to worship is it. And so Thakur's saying that's the important thing, not the doings. Oh, I can't meditate. Well, do you think of God? Well, that'll be enough. So think of God. Do what you can do. Don't focus on the things you can't do. Find the things that you can do and do them. That's all. If you can't meditate, maybe stop putting all the effort into that, you know. Maybe you can make cookies really well. Start making cookies for your neighbors. I don't know. Do the things that you can do and spiritualize them, and enjoy this walk with the beloved. Enjoy this walk with the divine. It was evening. The master was sitting on the floor of his room with the devotees. He was talking to them about yoga and the 6 centers. These are described in the Shiva Samhita. Master, the Ida, the Pingala, and the Shumna. These are the 3 principal nerves. All the lotuses are located in the Shumna. They are formed of consciousness, like a tree made of wax. The branches, the twigs, the fruits, and so forth are all made of wax. The Kundalini lies in the lotus of the Muladhara. That lotus has 4 petals. The primordial energy resides in all bodies as the Kundalini. She is like a sleeping snake coiled up, of the form of a sleeping snake having the Muladhara for her abode. To M. The Kundalini is speedily awakened if one follows the path of bhakti. God cannot be seen unless she is awakened. Sing earnestly and secretly in solitude. Spend that time. fall in love, enjoy your love, especially when you're alone. That's the best time, because that's when you can really see what your relationship with the moment, with the mother, is. you know are you content alone with nothing around you, nothing to distract or entertain you? It's like, if not, then work on your relationship with mother. Get a little bit more fun in there, get a little bit more of a casual approach to it, so that you can sit there doing nothing and enjoy her, that you can just sit there and enjoy the thought of her, enjoy the sense of her presence in yourself. She's like a sleeping snake coiled up, of the form of a sleeping snake, having the Muladhara for her abode. The Kundalini is speedily awakened if one follows the path of bhakti. God cannot be seen unless she is awakened. Sing earnestly and secretly in solitude. Waken, O Mother, O Kundalini, whose nature is bliss eternal. You are the serpent coiled in sleep in the lotus of the Muladhara. Ram Prasad achieved perfection through singing. There you go. Somebody has reached the goal just through singing, just through devotional singing. Thakur also says that you can realize God through the path of prayer alone. Just praying can get you there. There are all different ways of approaching God. That's why Vivekananda was so free and said, as many people, so many paths. Right? The only thing necessary is earnestness and sincerity about your path, a dedication to truth, and the knowledge that love is that one most important thing. So with those three elements, walk your path, live your life. Just keep your mind on its awareness, on the moment, on the walk with God, and Mother will take care of the rest. The divine will bring you home. This is the prayer of every avatar. This is the message of every holy man. M. Grief and distress of mind disappear if one has the experience but once. Master, that is true. Distress of mind disappears forever. I shall tell you a few things about yoga. But you see, the mother bird doesn't break the shell until the chick inside the egg is matured. Right? So he's saying, so there's some teachings that will come in time. You shouldn't take all the high teachings up front, because you're not going to know what they mean, and and being ill digested, you won't manifest them properly. A good example, someone teaches you about karma, and then you look at the next homeless guy and you're like, oh, look, he's getting what he deserves, and your sense of empathy shuts down. You just say, oh, well, if it's all karma, that's his, this is mine, lucky me. And see, that's just somebody who just doesn't understand karma. But we have to be careful about all this, because we take these ideas one without a second. If you start practicing one without a second without having known one without a second, what's that going to do? It's going to shut down your devotion. It's going to end your service. It's going to do all kinds of things. So it's important that we live where we are, right? Don't get ideas about, just because you know something or have heard something, that you take that. Be careful. Live where you are, be where you are. If you think you're the doer, then be the doer. And be the doer in the sense of worshiping God and everyone around you. Be the doer in the sense of serving everyone around you. And at some point, you'll know that you're not the doer. And at that point, you start living like you're not the doer, but not before, right? Not before. So be where you are. Don't worry about not being somewhere where you think you should be, or where somebody else has told you should be. That's not the way. Be present, be where you are. Mother has got you where you are. She knows where you are, and she enjoys you where you are. Otherwise, she put you somewhere different. So what choice do? You have, but to enjoy where you are. Approach the world as you see the world. And when Mother wants to change it, she'll change it. But you just keep thinking of her, keep being in her presence, keep being in her company, and go forward, right? Just like the book, is it Micah in the Old Testament? What has the Lord required of man but that he enjoy his work and walk humbly with his God? That's it. Enjoy your work, right? To enjoy your work brings in all the rest of the Vedanta. Learning how to enjoy work, learning how to be enjoying work even when it's the toughest thing going on for you. You know, that's the practice. That's the walk with Mother, because that's where Mother will teach you. She'll teach you how to enjoy your work. And when you get to the tough places, she's there and you'll grow and we move beyond these things together. So the mother bird doesn't break the shell until the chick inside the egg is matured. The egg is hatched in the fullness of time. It is necessary to practice some spiritual discipline. The guru no doubt does everything for the disciple, but at the end, he makes the disciple work a little himself. When cutting down a big tree, a man cuts almost through the trunk. Then he stands aside for a moment and the tree falls down on its own with a crash. The farmer brings water to his field through a canal from the river. He stands aside when only a little digging remains to be done to connect the field with the water. Then the water becomes soaked and falls of itself, and the water of the river pours into the canal in torrents. Right? So just your part is that attention, that constant remembrance, and your daily practice. You just do that, and Mother will turn you into a saint. Mother will set you free and give you the bliss of ecstasy, show you herself. Maybe before the body drops, maybe as the body drops, and maybe after the body drops, who knows? But you can know she will. And you can enjoy that now. You don't have to wait. A man is able to see God as soon as he gets rid of ego and other limitations. Right? So that's all we have to do is get rid of our limitations. That's what Vivekananda says. You've hedged yourself in with your limitations and your restrictions, giving yourself a whole bunch of identities that you now have to live up to. And that's not fair to yourself. That's egoism. Egoism is boundaries. Egoism is limitations and restrictions. So we be free. He sees God as soon as he is free from such feelings of, I'm a scholar, I'm the son of such and such a person, I'm wealthy, I'm honorable, and so forth. You see, every adjective that you come up with will bind you, will limit you in some respect. God alone is real, and all else unreal. The world is illusory. That is discernment. One cannot assimilate spiritual instruction without discernment. You won't know that these things are true. And sometimes we don't even know that we don't know these things are true. I've been in the monastery for 20 years, and this is the first year where it occurred to me I didn't know what it meant not to be the body-mind. 20 years I've been listening to that scripture with just the assumption, oh yeah, of course not. Oh yeah, no, I got that down. And then it just hit me one morning. Dude, you have no idea what that means. you don't know what that means. And I realized, wow, I really don't have any idea what that means in a practical way, that I'm not the body mind, And so you go in and start doing that discernment. It's because you're meant to see all of these things. The modern world has turned religion into a matter of beliefs, a structure of behaviors. It's not. It's realization. It's seeing things as they are. It's not being fooled by the illusion, to be in the dream and know that you're in a dream. That's what it's about. To know the reality of who you are, of what you are. We've got all kinds of meaningless words. You say, what are you? Oh, I'm a human being. What the hell is that? What's a human being? What does that imply? Where does it begin and where does it end? What does it mean? It's just these things. That's why they call it waking up. Because what egoism does is it creates a dead space about arm's length around you. A dead space in which you can feel like you are the doer. You are in charge. You are safe. You're fine. You're good. all of these protective things when we live in a world that we don't know the first thing about, don't know anything about it. And so we have to break down those assumptions. We have to break down those habits. We have to become aware of them. And then we have to dismantle them. And once we begin dismantling them, then truth starts peeking in, starts slipping in here and there. Your nature, that bliss starts to manifest in you. That free spirit begins to manifest in you. That childlike nature begins to manifest in you. And you enjoy being with no entertainment. You enjoy being without any distraction. Every moment is interesting. Every moment is infinite. Every moment is freedom for you. This is what he's pointing at. God alone is real, and all else is unreal. The world, it's illusory. That is discernment. One cannot assimilate spiritual instruction without discernment. Through the practice of spiritual discipline, one attains perfection by the grace of God. But one also labors a little. Then one sees God and enjoys bliss. If a man hears that a jar is filled with gold and that it's buried in a certain place, he rushes there and begins to dig. I want to see this. I want to find this. He sweats as he goes on digging. After much digging, he feels the spade strike something. Then he throws away the spade and looks for the jar. At the sight of the jar, he dances for joy. Then he takes up the jar and pours out the gold coins. He takes them into his hand, counts them, and feels the ecstasy of joy. Vision, touch, enjoyment. Isn't that so? Yes, sir. The master was silent a moment and then went on. You see, there's a lot of things here that you can look at. The only way to enjoy that money is to dig it up, open the jar, pour it out, count it, hold it, and go spend it, right? Spiritual life is that. To read something in a scripture, that's somebody just telling you the gold is buried somewhere. Then you got to get excited. Yeah. You just have to believe it. If you believed it, you'd be excited. So you have to have some faith up front there. Something has to motivate you to investigate. You have to have at least enough faith to think, oh, this might be possible. And so something sets you to work. And then mother begins to play. She begins to flirt, and she begins to tease, and she begins to appear and disappear. All of those little things in life. And we go forward just like that. The master sat silent for a moment and then went on. Those who are my own will come here even if I scold them. Look at Narendra's nature. At first, he used to abuse my mother Kali very much. One day I said to him sharply, "Rascal, don't come here anymore." He slowly left the room and prepared a smoke. He who is one's own will not be angry, even if scolded. What do you say? M. Well, that's true, sir. Master. Narendra is perfect from his very birth. He is devoted to the ideal of the formless God. M. Smiling. Whenever he comes here, he brings along great excitement. Sri Ramakrishna smiled and said, yes, excitement indeed. The following day was Tuesday, the Ekadashi day of the lunar fortnight. It was 11 o'clock in the morning, and the master had not yet taken his meal. M, Rakal, and the other devotees were sitting in the master's room. The master to M, one should fast on the 11th day of the lunar fortnight. That purifies the mind and helps one to develop love of God. Isn't that so? Yes, sir. But you may take milk and puffed rice. Don't you think so? And that's the end of that chapter. We'll stop there for tonight.